Hey guys, what's up? We are back with another video today, and today we are doing our Ole Miss 2023 football prediction. So hit the subscribe button down below. Help me reach my goal of 1,200 subscribers by the end of August. We're reaching towards that goal. It's first day of August. Sorry about not getting the videos out the past couple of days, but it has been quite busy. So I am now getting on the roll. And we have about 20 or so predictions to finish up. We're going to make a path. And we're going to get there right before the beginning of college football season. It's crazy to think about, but I think we're going to get there. Other thing, the shop is live. I have merchandise for the football expert if you'd like to get any. Down below will be the link to t-shirts, coffee mugs, a couple other things. I will make sure that the shop is updated and that it is working well. So if you want to check out the shop, or if you'd like to support financially through Patreon, you may also do that. The link is in the description. Let's get started with today's video. So let's make our way over to the Ole Miss schedule. So Ole Miss obviously has a tough schedule with being in the SEC West, and their SEC East opponents aren't that bad. You have to play Vanderbilt, but you also have to play Georgia. So you do have definitely a tough environment there. But we're going to quickly go through this Mercer game. I think you beat Mercer. I think it is a win. I don't think that you have much issue here. I think that you win this game pretty easily. Mercer will be just fine. The last 12 matchups that Ole Miss has played an FCS opponent, they have beat them by 34.2 points in the last 12 matchups. So, yeah, it is definitely going to be there. There has only been one prior matchup, which was way back in 1911 was the last time these two teams played. So, long time. But I went through that game quickly to get to this game. Tulane, the Green Wave, the mean Green Wave. So, with this team, you are looking at a team that they just won the Cotton Bowl last year. This is a team that you lose Tajay Spears and you lose a couple of pieces. But at the same time that you lose all those pieces, you still bring back some pieces as well. This team brings back Michael Pratt, their starting quarterback, as well as a couple other pieces. They bring back 8 defensive starters. They do lose Dorian Williams, their leading tackler, and even their second leading tackler, Nick Anderson. So they definitely lose some of their big pieces on defense, but I think bringing back Michael Pratt, he is going to be a great quarterback. This is going to be one of those games that I think is going to be very underrated, and a lot of people are like, they'll win this game. It'll be no issue. I personally think that this game is in Louisiana. This game is a home game for the Green Wave. This is not going to be an easy game. This is going to be a game where I think Ole Miss is going to struggle. I think that struggle on the defensive end. I think the offense will be okay. But I think at the end of the day, I think that this is a loss. I think that Tulane has pieces in place in order to beat a team like Ole Miss. And right now, offensively, I think that this team has some pieces, especially when you're looking at Jackson Dart at quarterback, or Spencer Sanders, or whoever ends up being that quarterback. I get that there is a lot of confusion there, but I really don't know what they'll do at quarterback position. Ole Miss, I'll be honest, I don't follow this team just the way I do Notre Dame or stuff like that. So, but it looks, in my opinion, like Jackson Dart's going to be the starting quarterback. So I'm kind of assuming in this preview that he is. So just to take that into reference. But I think that this game, Quinshon Jenkins, I think is going to be the biggest factor in this game. Last year, he was just fantastic with over 1,500 yards, almost 6 yards a carry, 16 touchdowns. I expect a lot more of the run game, a heavy dose of it. But I think at the end of the day, I think Tulane may be able to win this game. Then you play Georgia Tech. I think that this is a win. I think that Brent Key and crew, I think they had some solid wins last year after Jeff Collins got fired. You obviously had a tough task when you look at Georgia Tech particularly. but I think Brent Key did a pretty decent job. But I think that there's no way that Ole Miss loses both Tulane and Georgia Tech. I don't see it. I don't see this team starting off 1-2 and then having to play Alabama and LSU, possibly then starting off 1-4 before, and that doesn't even include an Arkansas team and stuff like that. So I think that this is a win. I think that you are able to beat Brent Key, but I do think that it's going to be another tough game. This is not an easy non-conference schedule. You have 2 easy games in Louisiana Monroe and Mercer, but then you also have 2 pretty solidly tough games in Georgia Tech and Tulane, in which I think you'll split. So heading on to the next matchup, you got Alabama. It's on the road. Last year, this was a kind of interesting game because Alabama had just lost the week prior to LSU. And Alabama was coming off of that, so that was obviously made it a little bit more difficult for Ole Miss. But Ole Miss kind of hung in that game. They played solid. You definitely didn't get the crap beat out of you, which I thought was definitely possible. But I think at the end of the day, it is going to be a loss there for the Rebs. Then you have LSU, and LSU, I think, is just simply the better team. I think that you lose this game. I think Jaden Daniels at quarterback. I think Alabama, the reason why you don't beat them is it's hard to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Very few people do it in the Nick Saban era, and I just don't see it. But with LSU, it is a home game for Ole Miss. I think it may be a little bit closer than some people expect, particularly LSU fans. But at the end of the day, I think Quinshon Jenkins, LSU's just going to load up the box and say, hey, Jackson Dart, can you throw it? And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Then you have a home game against Arkansas, and I think the deciding factor in this game is home field advantage. I think that because this game is in Oxford, I'm going to give it to the Rebs. If this game was in Arkansas, if it was in Fayetteville, I think that this is a win for the Razorbacks, but I think with this game being on the road for the Razorbacks and being at home for the Rebs, I think that you'll be able to get the win, and I think that Mississippi will be able to beat them. I think that Quinshon Jenkins, I really do think that, like, with this team particularly, the running situation is going to be key because I don't fully know what we're getting out of the quarterback position. Jackson Dart was Jackson Dart was not bad last year, but he also threw 11 interceptions, only had 20 touchdowns, less than 3,000 yards, had a 62.4% completion percentage, which isn't bad, but it's like, okay, that's solid, but not what you're looking for. It's a tough scenario to kind of be in when you're looking at that, but I'm kind of 50-50 on Jackson Dart. Then you have a bye week before you play Auburn. I think that this is a loss. I think it's kind of one of those games that Ole Miss is like, oh, we can beat Auburn. They're not going to be an issue. I think that this is where kind of one of those scenarios that you lose it. I think that Auburn has some solid pieces in Peyton Thorne particularly, and obviously Auburn is going to be much better in future years. This year, they're definitely going to have some struggles. They're definitely going to have that. But I think that particularly when it comes to this scenario, I think that Auburn, you have a lot of pieces. It's a road game. Winning at Jordan-Hare is one of the toughest environments to be in. So I'm going to pick the Tigers in this one. Though I did seriously go back and forth on that one, so you could convince me otherwise. Then you have Vanderbilt. I think you get a win here, but let me preface this. I think you get a win because I think that Vanderbilt will not be able to stop the rushing attack and the offensive capability that Ole Miss has. But, this is not a rollover game. Vanderbilt is not the same Vanderbilt that they were 3 years ago before Clark Lee in 2020 and stuff like that. This is not the same Vanderbilt team. This is a much better Vanderbilt team under Clark Lee. And I think Vanderbilt is a team that you're going to have to start to watch out for when you're looking at the SEC East. I think that you're just going to be able to beat them and, just chalk it up to another win on the schedule. I think that it's one that you're going to actually have to try to win. Then you have Texas A&M. And with the Aggies, you are looking at definitely a scenario where you got to win it. Last year was a bad year for the Aggies. There's no doubt about that, but it's a home game. It's in early November. You got to win it. I think they do. I think this is a game where you just gotta put your nose down, gotta do what you gotta do, and gotta win this ball game because you have a earlier on. So I think that you definitely have to focus on that, winning that game there. Then you have a road game against Georgia. I just don't see you beating Georgia. I don't see any possible scenario where Ole Miss is able to walk into Athens and beat them. Maybe they can play upset watch for a little bit where it gets to scroll down on your ticker at the bottom and say Ole Miss is up 3 going into the third quarter or the second half, I guess. But I just don't see it there. Then you have UL Monroe. You're not going to have an issue here. You'll be able to get a win. Not much to talk about. Louisiana Monroe, not very good. They definitely have a lot to work on their end. Then finally, you have the Egg Bowl. You have a big matchup. And I think that this is going to be kind of a scenario in which you're 6-5 heading into this game. You secure bowl bid, but definitely a little bit of a disappointing season, but I think that you will be able to beat Will Rogers and company and finish with a 7-5 record. I know that 7-5 is not what most Ole Miss fans would be looking for in this season. You're probably looking for like an 8-4, 9-3 type finish, but I think that this is just a tough year. I think that you're looking at a SEC West division. Texas A&M is not going to be as bad as they were last year. They're not going to be like what they were in 2020, I think. But they're not going to be like bottom feeders 4-8 or 5-7 or whatever they were, just terrible last year. So that's going to wrap up today's video. Hit 2 videos down below and the subscribe button up here. And as always, have a great day. Bye, guys.